Welcome back to my channel, Royal Family. At it again, once again, time and time again. I'm your host, Ramudi the High King. Let's get into today's video. There's been a clip that was floating around, and I've seen this before. And I just thought I'd share it again, because I've just seen it again here on one of my favorite YouTube channels, Tuna Cheki. Now, keep in mind, kinfolk, outsiders love to tell themselves stories about Africa while they're begging for our resources. Their power comes from being able to trick people, manipulating propaganda and news media and all of those things to dupe people into thinking that they are less than. When you finally accept that you ain't worth nothing, then they take everything that you have dirt cheap. That's the power of the outsiders. That's the power of people who don't have nothing. They don't have resources, they don't have skills, they don't have melanin, they don't have squat. So they dupe you into hating your own skin, so you bleach. They dupe you into thinking your country is poor, so you flee, looking for greener pastures overseas. Meanwhile, they deploy mining corporations to your land. Now that it's been emptied of potential soldiers. And they drain you of everything that you have. That's the outsider for you. Colonizers. In this particular clip, this brother from Tuna Cheki shares what this milkman at an event had to say, and it expresses how their logic functions. You see, by the time we show up to these summits, or the time that they come up to our summits, they've already had these conversations among themselves, Royal Fam. And this is the logic they operate under. And when you as an African falsely believe that you are operating on equal terms, you are sadly mistaken. Check out this clip, tell me what you think.
What contribution do you see from the African continent in terms of global manufacturing horsepower?
Oh, manufacturing? None. Very little. Africa is a series of stacked plateaus, so just getting the infrastructure in there to access anything is very difficult. And
Roads, airports, railways, energy, utilities, education, healthcare, social.
while they do have very high birth rates and a more stable population structure, a lot of that is only possible because they export raw commodities and then import the things that allow them to have a degree of modernity. You break down global supply chains, a lot of that goes away. And so I think a lot of Africa is going to devolve. And they just don't have the infrastructure or the skilled labor that's necessary to participate at scale. And even if they did, in a less robust security environment, the connections necessary to make that happen are going to be very thin. So I think it's...
In other words, Africa is only good for exporting resources. That's what he says. Africa is no good for investment as far as building clinics, education, railroads, airports, all those things. What does he know about Africa? Absolutely nothing. Because anyone who has come here has been to Accra, has been to Lagos, has been to Kinshasa, has been to Johannesburg, Cape Town. Everybody knows. Mozambique, everybody knows. We're lit in a good percentage of regions. But guys like him operate on the idea that Africa is stuck in this role, so let's just keep him there. Or rather, he come up with any logical excuse to justify keeping us in a specific position. When we tell them straight, we need investment in this, we need investment in that, they say no. What you need is investment in your ability to send your resources to us. That's the colonizer for you.
It's far more likely that the North American manufacturing system will start incorporating pieces of South America. We already have free trade deals with Colombia and Chile, for example. But yeah, I'm afraid that Africa really can't be part of that. Now, we might see pieces of Africa following the Indian model. I can see Nigeria becoming broadly self-sufficient. I can see a partial reboot of South Africa, but that's for their own domestic markets rather than any sort of international connection.
So let's react to what this global strategist thinks of Africa. So he says Africa's global manufacturing prowess is none. That means zero, which is wrong. Africa manufactures a lot of things, right? He has a point where he says that Africa mostly focuses on exporting raw materials and importing already manufactured materials. That's something that the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement is going to fix in the coming decades, right?
Not to mention, as I've stated in many a video before, we need to be focusing on establishing our own industry, closing the loops. Because as African peoples, we know our continent. Royal Family, we know. We know that we can establish our own manufacturing, our own mining capacity, our own manufacturing, our own processing, our own retail. We can be trading goods between our fellow respective African nations on the continent and throughout the Caribbean islands as well. And this is why I say that African peoples in the diaspora must compete with these milk-owned businesses who come to Africa looking for opportunities. Because it's when idiots like that guy are allowed to have conversation and control of the narrative, we end up with false investment predictions. And I've said before, I'm not interested in investments from outsiders. Whether you're European, Arab, Asian, I'm not interested in your investments. I'm interested in African peoples investing in African countries, on the continent and in the diaspora. Because then we will be free from all of these outsiders, all of them, thieves. That Africa must keep exporting raw commodities. Crazy.
He also says that the infrastructure of Africa is very conducive for bringing manufacturing and stuff. That's useless. With all the development that Africa is doing, all the railroad that China has been investing in, all that is preparing Africa to be a manufacturing hub, right? So the problem with the white men like this is that they still think they're on top, right? They still think the West, the United States, is on top of the food chain. And for a global strategist, I'm wondering why he can't figure out that these days it's China. So America is freaking out, looking for new manufacturing partners because China will no longer be a viable partner, because China will be more developed than the United States. China will be more developed than the West. So why would China be exporting cheap materials? So China is also looking for a place to build a manufacturing base, and China has chosen Africa, right? It's ignored the West, it's ignored South America.
Now, I, for one, am not interested in allowing our brothers and sisters to be turned into sweatshop factions to sustain China's manufacturing capacity. We are to be manufacturing for ourselves, creating African textiles for each other, African goods and products for each other, battery technology for each other, selling gas to each other, not exporting our resources to Europe, to America, to the Saudi regions, to the Asian countries. No, we can't keep bleeding resources for the sake of outsiders' family. Enough is enough.
China has chosen Africa to be its manufacturing hub. India is also choosing Africa to be its manufacturing hub. Countries like Iran, countries like Turkey are really investing in Africa when it comes to the manufacturing round. And also, this point for that Africa is only a place to get raw materials. Countries like Ghana, countries like Burkina Faso are waking up and they're saying, oh no, the chocolate are not going to be exported as beans. Chocolates are going to be exported as the finished product, right? Meaning chocolates, well, like if you want any cacao, it will have to be finished and it will be at a higher price than right now. These countries like Belgium, Switzerland are getting at a throwaway price for those beans, right?
There was a situation a while back where a British man was trying to create synthetic chocolate because of the speeches Nana Akufo-Addo had made unto these European nations. Imagine going to the Swiss telling them no more cacao. They panicked. And as you can expect, they quickly ran to try and invest in synthetic chocolates and things. But of course, that isn't working out, and it won't work out. Because in the end, people are going to still demand the authentic version. So no more cacao, no more tea. Well, maybe probably tea, but like, you're not going to be sending tea leaves. No, we will be exporting chocolate. We'll be exporting tea. We'll be exporting coffee. We'll be exporting diamond rings, gold rings, battery technology, manufactured products. We need to close the loop, family. We need to clamp down on every level. Clamp down, isolate our resources, our economy, so that we can benefit and beneficiate each other.
Another thing also, gold. countries like DR Congo, Rwanda, Uganda are manufacturing their own gold, right? They're not just exporting the ore so that they can sell it at a lower price. No, they're manufacturing gold, and the price of gold is fixed. No matter where you go in this world, right? So things are changing. So another good example is that Zimbabwe has also said it's not going to export its lithium as raw products. It's going just to export the finished product, right? So now this is the problem where we are happy, because we want this white supremacist, this imperialists to keep thinking that Africa is useless to them, right? To ignore us the way they ignored China, right? They ignored China, they disrespected China. Look what happened. China is better than them. China has a better GDP than them. China is more productive to the global manufacturing and to the global world market than them, right? They disrespect the China. Right now, instead of learning from the lessons, they're also disrespecting Africa, right? And for my last point is that Africa's future is brighter than China's, brighter than the West, brighter than Europe, right? Technically, all other regions are actually dwindling. They are future dwindling. Africa's future is among the few that are actually rising. And all this is because of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, right? So this agreement alone can make Africa to be self-sustainable, right? It can make Africa to produce the raw materials, right? Which Africa produces majority of the raw materials needed for manufacturing in the world. It can help Africa manufacture all these goods needed, and it can even enable Africa to trade within itself. Egypt trading with South Africa trading with
Brother nails it. Brother nails it. South Africa trading with other African countries, Niger, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Kenya, Chad, Mauritania, Somalia, Ethiopia. Royal family, we need to clamp down on every level. We have the most powerful economy. What we need to be focusing on is getting over these hurdles, these Berlin Conference leftovers from what once.
We don't need the world to.
From what was. The Berlin Conference broke our continent into multiple pieces the imperial powers can eat. America gets these regions. Britain gets these regions. Germany keeps these others. The French keeps those. And that has been the economic structure that has sustained us, or sustained them, to our detriment.
Help us, or we don't need Africa alone itself, with a population of estimated of 4 billion by 2100, has enough people, has enough manpower, has enough youths, right? Africa has all the natural raw materials needed for manufacturing. So if we have these skills in IT, in manufacturing, the world is our oyster, right? We will even be better than the current king right now, which is China. And we will make countries like the United States and Europe, who has used us, who have exploited us for centuries, regret how they think about us today. Okay? So with that said, this has been Mikey Mushi from Tuna Checking. Please.
That was powerful, brother. Of Tuna Checking. Thank you on that note. Real family, and we've been on this topic for some time. And I've said it in my previous videos of the previous year. Civilization begins with critical resources. It begins with us learning how to locate and know the value of these things. It begins with us knowing how to mine and process these materials to our own benefit, manufacturing, and processing them into manufactured goods. Silicon Valley. We'll be producing our own African-made microchips and computer technologies and cell phones and things. Rocket ships. We'll be flying our own space technologies. All the bauxite that they use to make their rocket engines and their rocket tanks, we'll be using to make our own. Power is where they tell you not to look. So when the milkman was trying to say all those terrible things about us. He was trying to de-escalate the situation because everybody can tell. Everybody can tell that Africa is rising. Guys like him are out there being agents. That's what guys like him are here to do. They are there to be globalists and analysts, to give false representations of African countries, middle-rich countries, so that the rich and powerful and elitists and imperialists don't panic. But we're here now, real family. We're here now. I'm your host Ramudi the High King. If you enjoyed the video, smash that subscribe. Let the algorithm know it's good with a thumbs up. Let other like-minded souls know that we're out here with a share. Real family, we're in it. We're here. We're gonna be here. Let me know what you think of the video in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Stay royal, stay blessed. Peace.